Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Family Sedan channel. Have you ever second-guessed any investment that you've ever made? Have you ever second-guessed your investment in XRP? I mean, that would only make you a human, and it's normal to, look inward and make sure, okay, I just did a thing, is it the right thing? And also to seek reassurance and continue to research and understand the world. Of course, all well and good. But things can go way too far in the other direction, too. What if we get a little bit overzealous, right? That can certainly happen. I've seen that happen many times within the XRP community, and it's not unique to the XRP community. I'm just saying I've seen it here because there is a lot of excitement in crypto, and specifically a lot of excitement in the XRP community. So I just want to say this right off the bat here. It's not just you that thinks XRP might be worth an absolute fortune in the future relative to where it is now. In fact, so far as I can tell, it seems like just about everybody under the damn sun thinks XRP is about to go, with a primary reason being the SEC v. Ripple case. So I just wanted to highlight a couple instances of that to drive the point home. And then there was also this article I do want to run through. Here it is, from the Daily Hodl. Because we do need to focus, even though, I'm sure that some number of you out there, since this is an XRP-centric channel, some of you out there will be like me, and XRP is either your largest holding or the coin you're most interested in. And I say fair enough, and if it's not, then that's cool too. Maybe for most of you, it's not your largest holding, but whatever the case may be, it doesn't matter. But I want to point out that what drives the market still is Bitcoin. I want Bitcoin to do well, not just because I hold it. I hold it. I've been holding it since 2017. I'm just not that excited about it, frankly. It doesn't do a whole lot. I mean, it drives the market, but in terms of actual utility, well, XRP is substantially better, let me say. I think that's a fun way to word that. But look at this headline. Top analyst who predicted Bitcoin's 2022 bottom says Bitcoin to hit new highs for this year. Here are his targets. But before going further, I do want to be clear. I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice. And you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. And so let me highlight this. Here's a headline from the Crypto Basic. Thinking Crypto podcast founder eyes XRP, prepares for a promising XRP rally. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with Tony, who runs the Thinking Crypto YouTube channel. And here's what he had to say, and I agree with a lot of this. And again, just to kind of drive the point home, I don't think we're crazy. So I don't go so far as to make predictions because I admit I don't know what's going to happen, but once I've consumed sufficient information, I'd like to make an opinion. And my opinion is that what is most probable is that XRP is going to be worth way more. And I recognize it could be wrong and it could go to zero. Fine. But I have placed my bets and I sleep very, very soundly at night. And it sounds like Tony Edward here is as well. And he wrote the following. Once Bitcoin hits its retracement peak of around $40,000, we see altcoins pump. I got my eyes on ETH and XRP, hoping Judge Torres rules in favor of Ripple and XRP goes on a nice run. We'll be taking profits accordingly. So let me just pause right there. I've been thinking more about this lately. When might be the first... I've always been thinking about it, but thinking about it more lately, given that I'm... Like most people, I'm anticipating, if we get good news, that there's going to be some sort of XRP rally. So where would be the first level that I personally would take profit? I've never had a completely firm answer on this, and if you've been following me for some time, you know that. But many times I've articulated things along the lines, which I still hold true for me personally, since I hold what to me subjectively is a lot of XRP, just subjectively to me. Some of you still would hold more, and you think you have a moderate amount. That's fine. It's all subjective. And some of you would think, yes, I have like a crazy amount. But for me, I've been thinking somewhere... just kind of scaling out from roughly once XRP is like around $5, scaling out to maybe $7, I don't know, maybe $8 on the high end, something like that. Because what I've done is I've purchased a lot more XRP than most humans on the planet, so that once it starts going, I don't need it to hit $10 or $15 or $20 or $30, so on and so forth. I took more risk up front because I'm that confident in it, which does mean that I'll be able to have the benefit of scaling out and reducing that risk exposure. That's been my plan for many, many years. And I've been upfront about that. That is my plan. So some of you are like, how could you sell so low, 5, 6, 7? Well, to each their own. That's the answer. Different targets. And then I'm factoring in the rest of my net worth and what I'm doing. my current income streams, all that stuff. So there's a lot of moving parts to this, but suffice it to say, if we get to that type of level, for me, I'm just like, yup. But would I be willing to sell any amount lower than that? That's a strong maybe. It's a strong maybe. But it wouldn't be much. Like say XRP exceeds $4 for the first time. Would I sell like 1 or 2%? Maybe. If I do, I'll talk about it. I'm not going to talk about how much XRP I have or the quantity of XRP, but I'll be happy to share in terms of percentage what I'm selling. But if I do, like, to me, that's too low, even for me. But there are people listening too, even if there's not that many of you, who would be like, yeah, but I'm going to be out at like, because they've really put some investment. Like, yeah, I'm going to be out at like $3, and good enough. Good on everybody has different targets, different goals, different expectations here. But when Tony's stating here, hoping that XRP is going to go on a run because, well, just drives the point home. We're all anticipating this, are we not? And then he says, once the bull rally is over and lows get tested again, I start to accumulate for the macro bull run after Bitcoin's halving next year. And so he's of the mindset, obviously, that we're still in the 4-year cycle thing, meaning the next real big movement, despite the fact that we've had some fun crypto price action in 2023, the real big movement from his perspective seems to be in line with that halving still. And maybe he'll be right. He could be. I don't pretend to know for sure. It's just, but I do hold an opinion that I have for some time that with each subsequent halving, the halving becomes that much less important. Almost all the Bitcoin that will ever be mined has already been mined. It's already over 19 million out of the max of 21 million. So you can get that, squeeze that last little bit out of that limb and get a few more drops out, right? But I probably should have said lime. That's gonna piss some Bitcoin maxi off, right? Squeeze out the last little bits of the lime, right? But I'm just saying, with each little bit, it's gonna matter less and less and less. So maybe it still will, and maybe it'll still line up, and we'll see. With each passing halving, though, I become that much more skeptical that it's going to be particularly meaningful. But either way, it is possible that, given that cycles take time to play out, even if it's not going to be a 4-year thing anymore, and that's an if. So maybe we do see some positive price action this year, and XRP, maybe it even does hit a new high this year. Which, for most of the last couple of years, I haven't been that convinced of until recently. I'm starting to question that. With the reason being, I talked about it recently, so I don't want to go too much into it, but it's basically just because I'm seeing the amount of activity and interest around XRP leading up to the end of this trial. And I think that the world largely gets how consequential this is going to be. So when I'm looking at the number of new XRP accounts, which I highlight from time to time, I look at the institutional money flowing in. I look at the big price surge with all this pre-trial conclusions from Judge Torres, having to do with the Daubert motions in March, and that's an XRP from what I think it was like 32 cents or something, I can't remember, all the way up to like 58 cents, whatever it was. And so you get it, like, there's a lot of people paying attention, and that wasn't even the big news. And so you get moves like that. And so I'm looking at all this and I'm like, maybe I should have been thinking bigger. And I don't know for sure, but it just makes me question what I've been thinking for most of the last couple of years. Because for most of the last couple of years, I thought, well, unless Bitcoin's running, what's XRP going to go to, like a couple bucks? Are we actually going to hit a new all-time high? And I've never had the opinion of no, but I've just been more skeptical of it. I'm less skeptical of it now. That's what I'm saying. How could I not be? I mean, look at what's been happening here. And then there was also this headline from the Crypto Basic. Top analyst says XRP is not going to $100 or $50 following lawsuit victory. And this might sound negative to some on the surface, but not to me. It just sounds like this is somebody who is trying to be pretty grounded in reality. It's somebody named Crypto Assets Guy. This is who they were talking about in the article. And he wrote, I love the XRP community, but there are some moon boys that need to understand this. When the lawsuit ends, it won't hit $10,000, $1,000, $100, or $50. It could reach new all-time high, which is above $3.70, and we should all be more than satisfied. Okay, well, I don't know if everybody's going to be satisfied with that. I will say, if there's a new all-time high just with that, and if it's the case that crypto wasn't, like in like the euphoric stages of a bull market, if it just happens outside of the euphoric stages of a bull market and we hit a new all-time high, I'd be pretty satisfied with that. Although, if you're just talking about less than $4, I don't think I'm going to sell a single XRP. I've never sold a single XRP to this point. If you're talking sub $4, I don't see how I can convince myself to even get rid of a single XRP for less. It doesn't sound sufficiently enticing. And so it will be exciting. I'll be having fun if that happens. It just, it's just more validation. Yeah, well, look, the world was that interested if that happens. But even if so even if it goes to that and then it goes back down to 1, I'll just keep holding, having not sold, and I'll just be like, okay, whatever. I've been doing this for 5.5 years, not selling. I can do it for even longer. But believe me, son, ain't gonna be a problem. And so somebody responded to him named Mick Johnson and wrote, new all-time high, retraced back to $1, then $11 in 2025. Which, by the way, I don't know if that's going to happen, but does not sound remotely crazy. That sounds like a pretty reasonable guess at what might happen. And Crypto Assets Guy responded and said, I concur. So again, just to be clear here, and I'm not hesitating too much, but I want to make sure that we never end up as an XRP community purely in an echo chamber like you see with the toxic Bitcoin maxi trolls. I just don't want us to believe in our own hype and stuff like that. But that's why I do my very, very best to stay grounded in reality. That's why if somebody says something in the XRP community that I disagree with or I think it's too far hypey or out of bounds, then I respectfully state why I disagree. But in this case, I mean, the idea of it potentially just rocketing here, how could somebody not think that that's the most probable thing if we get a positive ruling? In the SEC v. Ripple case. So again, all that to say, even though none of us for sure know where the price will go if that happens, you're not the only one. You're not crazy. Let me just be really clear on that. I think that the price is absolutely going to rocket. And this is not something that I've said. If you've been following me since I launched this YouTube channel at the end of 2018, about a year after I jumped into crypto, that's not stuff that I typically say. But we actually are at one of those moments in time where it's very reasonable to suspect, yeah, something's going to happen. As long as we get the positive news. Otherwise, you could see price crater, and I acknowledge that's a real possibility too. But I don't even think we need Ripple to win to get the positive price action. We just need some sort of clarity or perceived clarity for XRP. Anything along those lines where the market's like, okay, this looks good. Even if Ripple has to pay a fine. I suspect that will be enough. And then there's this. And I love that, the SEC v. Ripple cases. Yes, we want it. We've been wanting it over since it started. Fine. But I got to admit, I don't mind that it's going to be ending this year instead of last year. Last year was a dumpster fire year for crypto, like in terms of price action. Whew. So now you're talking about Bitcoin's been running a bit. I know it's not euphoria mode yet, but Bitcoin's been running, and that's happening in conjunction with what's likely to be the end of the SEC v. Ripple. Yup, sign me up, son. Look at the headline from the Daily Huddle. Top analyst who predicted Bitcoin's 2022 bottom says Bitcoin to hit new highs for this year. Here are his targets. An analyst who accurately nailed the crypto bottom in November 2022 says he expects Bitcoin to go above this year's high of around $31,000. Pseudonymous analyst Don Alt tells his 51,500 technical roundup YouTube subscribers that Bitcoin is likely to break out of an indecision zone and rally above and beyond $32,000. And here's a quote from him. We are at weekly resistance, but we've tested that 1,000,000 times before. And now we're trading right in between basically that breakdown level of under $32,000. And I titled this months ago, Indecision Zone. And you can see how, we've struggled with this. But given we have a catalyst now, I think we can break it. And then we have quite a bit of fun north of $32,000, end quote. According to the trader, the catalyst that triggered the rally was giant asset manager BlackRock filing for a spot Bitcoin exchange traded fund, or ETF for short. And so I'll just pause to note here, and I actually did mention this a couple times in my last video because it's very relevant on a number of topics, frankly. That once this big news broke, and I eagerly reported it that day that the news broke with the BlackRock pushing for the spot Bitcoin ETF. And I was kind of wondering, okay, are people going to sufficiently appreciate this and how big this actually is? Is there, would there be any price action as a result of this? Would there be people talking about this all over social media? And the answer ended up being yes for all three of those things. And I was just internally wondering, I didn't really articulate that part. I articulated the part this is gigantic news, and I did my best to express why. And I think I did a pretty reasonable job. But internally, I was wondering, are enough people going to understand just how big this is? The world's largest asset manager? My bet, I'll bet you dollars to donuts. That BlackRock's going to get approved by the SEC. That's my for fun guess. Doesn't mean I'm right, but that's my for fun guess. I'm going to hazard a guess there. But here is the quote from Donald. If we didn't get the BlackRock ETF news, I think this would have broken down. It would have gone into this kind of support around $22,000 and then shot up. But we got the news. And the good thing about that is that whenever this is the case, a bunch of quite sharp people were bearish, were on the sidelines, or were even shorting. And then they got completely blindsided, which means they have to rebuy. If they were shorting, they have to rebuy to cover their shorts, or they have to actually get exposure. So a bunch of people who are scrambling to position to either close their positions or getting into one, this is what followed. That's kind of my view on how this played out anyway. That's the perfect kind of recipe for a pump, because any price is going to be a good price for them. And that's kind of what we're going through right now. And I don't think this is going to stop. I think the moment this is going to stop is going to be with a massive candle to the upside, where people just completely FOMO the S word out of this thing, because this is the best fundamental news that we could have gotten while the market was very, very bearish leaning, end quote. Well, spot on. And I'm certainly never going to pretend to be an analyst because I don't want to be one. It just sounds incredibly boring to me. But yeah, in terms of how big of a deal this is on a fundamental level, it's hard to overstate how big of a deal this is. And so, and not just that, don't forget there are other firms that, because BlackRock filed the spot ETFs, other firms copied them. One of them that I saw is either like 1.4 or 1.5 trillion in assets under management. So, gigantic, absolutely gigantic. So that would mean BlackRock's like still 6 or 7 times bigger than that particular one. I think they were called Invesco. And then there was one that was smaller, it was more like, if memory serves, some like 80 or 90 billion, something like that. But more are going to follow, and they're ultimately many will get approved. And then real Bitcoin has to be purchased to back all of this. So you can see how this is kind of a big deal, right? It's a good time to be in crypto, and even better time, more precisely, to be an XRP holder. I firmly believe that. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon Family Sedan.